I mean, I'm not even sure things have been good so far, given specifically just I won't even talk about any of the rumors Kenny or Cam Hayward shut down, the oddity that was Kenny not even dressing for that game in Seattle, despite being declared healthy late in the week, healthy enough to play.
But he said, should we not trust him? Has Kenny Pickett ever given us any reason to think that he lies? I felt like his anger in saying, look, I wasn't medically cleared to go. And there's a difference between being healthy and then ultimately on game day.
He said if he was healthy, he was going to be declared healthy and start. And he was declared healthy enough to play or cleared medically. But Mike Tomlin then backed him and said, well, it wasn't enough reps. Aditi, I'm only going with this because it comes from somebody I trust. And I was told that Kenny essentially was kind of moping, I think is the word that was actually used when it was presented to me. Moping once he realized he wasn't going to start that Seattle game, and that Mike got a little bit frustrated by that and decided to make him inactive as kind of a slap on the wrist and say,
okay, so Mike Tomlin, who has not given George Pickens a slap on the wrist for not blocking and saying he cared more about his health than his team.
Yep.
Mike Tomlin, who has not censured Deontay Johnson for giving up on a play when there was a fumble. You're telling me that now
he sees
he
both
is
of those
going
guys
to go
as less
out of
disposable.
his way for the guy that's been the perfect teammate since he's been here?
I think in this particular case, he might have felt like those two guys that you mentioned previously, especially Pickens, are less replaceable than at the moment Kenny Pickett was for him. I'm telling you this, and I wouldn't go with it, Aditi, if it didn't come from somebody that I trust implicitly. You were saying something about, the lack of consistency and discipline that a lot of people have said when I've brought this up. I'm just telling you this is what I heard about the situation, and that in a way it kind of happened quietly.
But I would argue, and I had a wonderful conversation with another former player, a different one than the one I was talking about with Mason, who was asking me certain questions about Kenny and what I knew, and I said, this is why you always need more than one source. And I'm not saying that the person telling you something is not accurate. I'm not saying that that person doesn't necessarily have the right read on something. But, sometimes perception from one person or the way a situation is read or what one person might say. You know what, Chris, like my feeling here is you have a young quarterback in town who has done every single thing you would want from the face of your franchise. He works his tail off. He is a good soldier. When he has every right to rip an offensive coordinator who should not be in that position, he never does that. He does not throw teammates under the bus. All he does is he shows up and he works and he takes accountability. He lives a clean life. Like, all of this is what you would want. He gives you a little personality occasionally. Like, why are we so hell-bent on ripping this guy, on tearing him down?
I mean, I'm not hell-bent on tearing him down at all. I'm just trying to put pieces together because it's a strange story, and I will say that he has done all the things you said. However, I thought it was the first time last week leading up to the Seattle game that you saw him get kind of testy with a line of questioning where he was asked if he learned anything, kind of just being on the sidelines while Mason played, and just gave a very terse, very quick, nope, nothing. Like, I don't think that's... I think that was a sign
okay, and he's also, you know what? He's also a second-year player who still, you hear it from veterans that media training in the National Football League is not what you think it is. And some clubs go out of their way to say, hey, you might get a question about this or you might get a question about that, and then it never comes to that. And we're sitting here and we're parsing every single thing. I don't, if I were to have the conversation with Kenny, it would be, okay, the reason that that's not necessarily a great answer is because of this, and this is how it will be read, even though that's not necessarily what you meant, and sometimes we need to play this media game, and blah, 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 blah. But I just feel like way too much is being read into something that a second-year player said.